welcome, everyone, to the Sigma Show, episode 82. I am your host, Sigma, and before I let you know who's joining me this week, real quick, we'll go over what our topics will be. First up, I know you guys have been hearing a lot about this whole Bayonetta voice actor situation. There's been a lot of back and forth. She said, and then a he said right at the end there. But we're gonna dive into kind of what was going on there. But mainly, I really think it opened up an interesting conversation about just like compensation for voice actors or other talent that's kind of hired to help with the game's development. Because there are a lot of differing opinions out there as to kind of what's fair and what isn't fair. So I thought we could maybe dive in and get some ideas thrown around. And our second topic is regards to another thing I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about, the CMA's review of the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Because apparently it's been kind of wildly panned as being very Sony biased. And the latest news to come out of that is that they're kind of just asking the public for any and all opinions regarding this issue. So you know what? We're going to give ours, right? We're part of the public. So let's figure out how this deal can work for us in our favor. And here to talk with me about these topics, Ash Redux.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy back again.
Bars.
Rachel Kaiser.
Hi, everyone. You heard Bayonetta and you know Casey was like, instantly sent me a message.
Pretty much. And Superman Jeff.
Yep.
There he is. So thanks for joining me once again, guys. Much appreciated. To warm everything up, to wait for a couple more folks to jump into the conversation for the more meaty topics, let's real quick go over what we've been playing, watching, reading, listening to, whatever you've been consuming that you want to share about. Feel free to dive right in. Anybody have any hot info?
I'll go.
I don't know where I was going with this.
Not hot
right ahead,
info per se. Hold on, let me clarify before I start. Excuse me. Not you guys have opinions. Thanks, King Dead. Yes, we do have opinions. But
sometimes we do.
So watching, still trying to hurry up and finish Vinland Saga. I went back into Cyberpunk 2077 a little bit after watching Edge Runners, which I legit.
Yeah, it seems to be a trend.
Well, there's legit articles out there that are like, why watching Edge Runners will get you to play Cyberpunk 2077 again. And they're right. It gets you back into the world if you're like me and you started playing it, and I didn't have any glitches or anything. I forget what game came out afterwards, and I was just really ready to play that, and then I just had more fun playing this other game from the initial like when you get into Cyberpunk, it's like, oh, look at this world, it's big. Oh, these graphics are amazing. But if you don't really get into the nitty gritty of the gameplay mechanics yet, you're just like, okay, I'm kind of, what am I doing here? Okay, this isn't really innovative or that fun at the moment, so I'll just go play something else. But getting more into the world from Edge Runners really got me more interested in playing the game again. And now I'm getting to the part where I'm getting more mechanics, more abilities and stuff. I'm enjoying it a lot more. Excuse me.
DJ is suggesting it was Elden Ring.
Oh, God. Elden Ring.
Oh, bless you. Bless you. It was Elden Ring that took your attention.
We're gonna pass sneeze around.
Oh, please don't. But other than that, just yesterday, I streamed again, finally, after so long of a hiatus. And not only did I streamed a brand new game that I just purchased called Devour. It's an indie game. It's literally $5. It's $5. It's a survival horror co-op kind of game thing. It's not asymmetrical. No one's playing the killer like Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th. I would attribute it more akin to like Friday the 13th when it comes to how the game works. You know, you're trying to do certain things so you can escape or whatever. But the game is hilarious. There's the descriptions for the different characters that you play as are, one of them was like, and I was like, I'm picking him immediately. It was, he was trying to, he didn't want to go to work that day, but he hates his bill, so he had to, but he got lost on the way and ended up joining the cult. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? he just got lost on his way. And
yeah, it seems like there's some information missing between one of those situations and another.
One of the others was like, that she was like, after so many bad dates, she decided that it would be better for her to just join the cult and form a community around the demon Azazel instead of trying to date more people, basically. I was like, fair. All right, that's cool.
Listen, if a demon treats you better than most human men you've encountered, it's not unfair to draw a correlative connection.
I said fair. That's why I was like, fair. Hey, listen, If it worked for her, I guess. I don't know. So, but the way the game works is, yeah, and there's an actual plot line too that they go into as you join the different maps. We only played one map last night. We won on our second attempt. There's 2 harder difficulties, which I'm terrified of already because the normal one is already hard. But you find the different ritual sacrifice things. You do it because what you're trying to do is get rid of this current demon that's there by using a stronger demon. But it's hilarious because even if you win, it's not a you've done a great job type of ending. I don't want to spoil that in case anyone ever plays it. But you know, you can get the point. If you summon a stronger demon, it may not just do what you want. So
what's the aesthetic of this game? Is it like a 3D rendered thing, or is it like a kind of a cutesy 2D
3D render
art style?
Yeah, 3D render.
Okay.
It's not like amazing graphical wise, but the scares you will be terrified while playing it. Yeah, it was a good time. It's especially when we play with people, you know, some friends. We were screaming half the time. I was screaming. I forgot I could scream. It's been so long since I screamed at something other than like towards my children when they're about to like damage themselves.
Oh yeah, that's a daily thing for sure.
But yeah, no. Other than that, that's what I've been watching and playing lately, and I'll pass.
All right, nice. Anybody want to jump in next?
And I pass.
I can go next unless you want to go, Jeff.
No. Of course you can go.
Okay. I've actually had like a really busy week. I am so exhausted. There's a lot of playing stuff for professional reasons as well. I'll start by saying this because I can only say like this much about it. I am playing God of War Ragnarok. That's literally that's literally all I can tell you about it. And yeah, so literally all I can say, but I just putting that out there. They literally they said it's like, okay, you can say it, can't say anything else, and I'm like, okay, fine. Don't be mad at me, Sony. Okay, so other than that, I've been playing. I played Gotham Knights because I reviewed it for GamesBeat, and score DNF, DNF, DOA, okay. All of it. Hated it. Oh, wow. Absolutely hated it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what was so? Because yeah, I'm hearing that a lot. Like, what was the thing that put you off so much about what it's doing?
Well, for starters, it's 30 FPS, and
yes.
For an action beat 'em up game, I mean, it's like when I play Bayonetta, when I play Devil May Cry, when I play the Arkham games. 30 FPS. I mean, in a lot of other games, that's not going to make any difference. It makes a lot of difference in an action beat 'em up game, and it's so slow. It's like a weird, like it's like you can almost see like the gears turning, like the figurative gears turning as you like press a button on the controller. It's like you can see how long it takes the input to travel from your finger through the controller up through the console to the character's little AI brain, and yeah, it's a slow drip. That's part of it. I also find the story freaking boring. Turns out Batman's kids are way more boring than he is.
Yeah, I've heard the opposite. I've heard that graphically it's inclined. I've heard that the story is really good, and I've heard that the gameplay is okay, but the graphics is the biggest letdown. Is the 30 frames per second.
I feel like people are giving this story a lot of leeway because they really wanted to see the Court of Owls in a game, which, to be fair, I mean, yeah, it's cool seeing Court of Owls, and I did like Penguin in this game, I'll say that. But if we're talking in terms of, like, I really didn't connect with the Gotham Knights themselves. They have these little story characters. They have these little story vignettes. That's how they reconcile having 4 playable characters. Is each one has their own little side story that they go through. So basically, randomly you'll switch to a character and they'll be like, "Oh, go click on the fridge or the bat cycle or something." It's always something in the belfry, and that then your character will walk up and it'll commence cutscene where they converse with the other Gotham Knights or Alfred, and poor Alfred having to work freaking overtime taking care of these brats. And I didn't connect with any of it. The dialogue is so freaking awkward and the delivery is so stilted, and I hate the voice of Barbara Gordon. No offense to the actress, but they chose the absolute wrong voice for her. And I mean, as far as the story goes, maybe this is the part that stuck with me the most. They have like this little extra bit where the characters get emails from like their friends, family, other DC characters, and all I could think is, where the hell are you people? Like Dick is getting messages from like Superman and Wonder Woman talking about how sorry they are for everything that's happened and how much they're going to miss Bruce. And I'm like, where are you people?
Do you want to help?
Like show up and put a hand on somebody's shoulder,
Yeah,
right?
it's like
help.
well, it's not even just like the characters that you wouldn't expect in Gotham. It's like, where's Batwoman? These are her cousin's kids that are in trouble right now. Where is Tim's dad, who, as far as I know, is still alive in this continuity? It's like people forget Tim is not an orphan like the rest of the Bat kids. Well, neither is Barbara, but that's neither here nor there.
But they did kill her dad in.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm like,
thing,
okay,
yeah.
we're doing this whole crap about killing Batman, whatever, but killing Jim Gordon is actually almost as big of a deal to me, and they basically do it not even in a cutscene. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, Jim Gordon's dead, and I'm like, well yeah, he would have to be, because the whole like to the passing the torch to the next generation only works if you kill off everyone of the next generation, except apparently poor Alfred.
Yeah, Alfred.
So
he's stuck doing this for life, I guess.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like people are grasping at straws a little bit to find this story. But I mean, of course, everyone's opinion is different. I appreciate that. If you love the story, more power to you. But yeah, to me, I definitely didn't vibe with it, and it felt like if I were struggling for something to praise about the game, I would actually praise the design of Gotham. I think the layout of Gotham is pretty good in this game.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay, I still want to give it a shot. Like I know it's in the Escapist Press account, so I'll probably download it as soon as I get a free chance and run around that city a bit. But like from early on, like the second trailer they showed, like that combat did look really slow and awkward. And I was just hoping that it just wouldn't be the case, but that's kind of the first thing that everyone who got hands on with it seemed to hammer home, is that the combat doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it's even little things, like, how in the Arkham games, like sometimes the camera would swing around, but it didn't ruin your combo because Batman would immediately just go, like, literally fly across the screen to another enemy in line of sight, kick them, and then fly across the screen. So basically, like, the game itself did not interfere with your combat flow or your combos. And in this game, it does the same thing. The camera just randomly starts spinning around the character as they're fighting. No particular reason, not because you're in control of it or anything. But if it spins around and causes you to lose... this game doesn't have a lock-on function, which is freaking death knell. But also, if it spins around and, like, the knight in question, let's just use Robin, just to keep it simple. But like if Robin is like, it will go towards the enemy that the camera is facing instead of the one he's currently fighting, but he won't actually connect. So your combo is broken. Your combat flow is broken. So basically it'll be like the camera will swing around and Robin will randomly start like hitting his bow staff at an area just behind him, basically.
Okay, so like the camera's sort of dictating what direction he's gonna throw an attack at versus like you.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's a mess. I mean, I could go on for a while, but I don't want to belabor the point. I already wrote a whole review on the topic.
Yeah, that's so disappointing to hear. I really did want that to be a cooler experience.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy criticizing it. I wanted to like the game. I like Batman, and I even like Batman's kids, but yeah.
Yeah, like I personally find like his band of sidekicks to be more interesting than Batman himself. Like I usually really like stories that center around like Robin and Tim and any of those kids. So like I was actually excited about this premise, but like it really sucks that you didn't nail the actual gameplay.
I will say it felt like there was a fantastic and interesting story happening where I couldn't see it, because the entire game is about the kids like being in the Belfry and going and fighting at night. But you'll randomly hear like flavor text. Somebody mentions that Bruce actually left his shares in Wayne Enterprises to Dick. So so Dick is actually going to shareholder meetings and, becoming, basically having a hand in running Wayne Enterprises. And I'm thinking that actually, I would love to hear about that story about like random circus orphan that Bruce Wayne apparently adopted out of nowhere, suddenly becomes one of the most powerful men in Gotham and has to adjust to that while also dealing with the loss of his dad and having to keep the city safe with all his siblings. Like, that would actually be interesting stuff to add into, but instead we never leave the Belfry and we never do anything other than go out and beat up criminals at night. It's like I feel like we're losing a lot of potentially interesting story there. We're just kind of leaving it off to the side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So To move on.
I mean, does that do it for you, or okay? No, that's fine. Go
No,
ahead.
just one more, just a couple more things. I am playing A Plague Tale Requiem, which I actually like a lot more.
Mhm.
I did want to write something about it, so I won't go into too much depth about that. But as for what I've been watching, this isn't a new thing, but my husband and I decided to rewatch The Addams Family for Halloween. I haven't watched it in years, so I was really excited about that.
Nice.
Are you interested in the new show for Wednesday?
No.
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 I saw the trailer and I was like, I don't know if I might watch it, but I don't know how much time I'll invest into it.
I think it was like I don't know if this is like Wednesday being a little bit of a stroppy teenager, but the bit in the trailer where she's like, "Oh, I hate my parents. They're terrible." It's like, "No, excuse me. Gomez and Morticia Addams are the best parents ever." Like, I will hear no slander whatsoever.
Is that not a thing Wednesday is known to do? Is to
I mean, not that I've
talk shit
I
about?
don't remember her
parents?
like hating.
I mean,
her
but yeah, I'm not a
parents.
super big Addams Family.
Not really, no. I mean, Wednesday's, down is kind of like the archetypal, like, cute little girl who just happens to have really macabre interests. It was the Christina Ricci version of her that got really
Mhm.
like, I am dark child, and you will never break my stoic demeanor, that kind of thing. That was Christina Ricci's
Right.
portrayal that did that. But no, she's never had a problem with her parents, and her parents treat her basically the best a strange child could ever hope to be treated.
Like the old sitcom, Wednesday wasn't a teenager. She was like a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like she was like
In most
okay.
iterations of her, she is a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, like even like those older what was it? Was that Tim Burton movies?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, even the
Barry
Tim-
Sonnenfeld.
No. Okay. Even in those movies, she wasn't like a teenager, was she?
No, she was.
Because there was the one where she went to camp as well.
might
No,
have been
But I
she's
can't
a
remember
she's a
if she was-
preteen in those.
Yeah, I was like maybe preteen.
Okay, so yeah, maybe they're trying to go for a new thing, like an actual Teenage Wednesday would start to rebel a little bit because that's just what teenagers do,
Yeah.
etc. So I don't know.
I
I
did
don't
like
know,
her dropping those piranhas in the pool though. I did like that part. That part was good.
I might see it just because I'm just afraid it's going to end up being a little more of a, how do I put this? Like people sometimes forget the Adamses are not mopey and gothic.
Yeah.
They're not they're not mopey gothic. They are incredibly cheerful and lovely people who just happen to be gothic in nature.
Yeah, like just all the stuff that they love and are excited about are like weird and off-putting to everyone
To
else.
Yeah.
the normal. To the quote unquote
So,
normal.
Yeah, I'm weird. I'm worried. Excuse me. They might try to make it too angsty and mopey. So, but if they don't do that, I'll give it a try. See if they do, because I do like Wednesday. So,
Okay.
and yes, no, that does it for me. Sorry about that.
No, you're absolutely fine. I mean, did you want to jump in, Jeff?
You can go if you
Or
want
Did you
first.
want to go?
I don't have
all
much.
right, yeah. Yeah, I haven't been watching a ton. Still watching Warrior. I'm like in the middle of season 2. That show continues to be great. So once again, I got to give it to Nick. He had a really good recommendation, which I'm gonna say he doesn't do often, but sometimes he's onto something. So Warrior is great. I was watching a couple of episodes of that new Netflix show, The Watcher, which apparently is like super popular. It's supposed to be sort of like a haunted house or ghost story that is based on a real story. Weirdly enough, it's set in New Jersey. This story, so like that house exists that they're talking about, and that situation actually happened. But of course they took liberties in the story that they're telling, and I think that's the biggest disconnect for me. Is in you tell me that this story is supposed to be something that actually happened, but they play it like it's so like mysterious and weird. Like the family moves into this really big house, a house that they basically had to give up all their savings to afford. But then immediately all of the neighbors around them are just being super weird, super like what's the word? Like nosy, like they want to know stuff about their house. And then the main focus of the thing is that they start getting these letters from someone who claims to be watching the house and to have always been watching the house from like previous owners and to now them. Like they're saying like, oh, I want to know the names of your kids. The house needs fresh blood. What will you do with this thing and that thing? Like just telling them intimate stuff that they would only know if they were like looking at their house constantly. And so, like, of course, they're getting freaked out by that. They're going to, like, the authorities. They're talking to neighbors about it. But, like, literally everyone they ask and talk to about the situation are, like, just a little weird and off in regards to it. And it's like, if this is supposed to be a situation that actually happened, it's taken me out of the story to feel like so every single person you talked to was just a straight up nutcase. Like, cause that just seems like it's a put on to make the show seem more mysterious and to make the story seem more like supernatural or whatever than it actually was. And like that is, so I'm like, I just kind of want to know the story if you're telling me it's based on a real thing, because none of the stuff that they're showing seemed to be actually real. Like, it seemed really far fetched. So after we did finish it, we went and read the real life story, and I don't know if I want to spoil it, but essentially, like, there's a lot of mysteries that are thrown at you, but in the real life story, there's no conclusion. Like, you don't get the answer to the mystery, to several of the mysteries that the show poses. And the show, of course, ends in the same way, where you don't actually get the answers to all those mysteries. And it's like, who decided to make this, to adapt this into a story if you didn't have an ending, or if you didn't have the wherewithal to just make one up at least?
Right.
Like, you can make one up for this show and just have it be good and satisfying to that audience, and then be like, all right, well, the real story, no one actually knows what happens. That'd have been fine.
Yeah.
But that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Because some shows will be like, they'll be like, oh, it'll end, and I'm like, well, that's how the real life version ended, but this is what somebody thinks, or their point of view of what happened, and that could have been a way of like telling like a different ending.
Yeah, I actually, I knew about the mystery before they made the series, and I have my own theory about it, but I don't want to besmirch the names of those still living, potentially. That's the problem. This happened so recently that everyone involved is both still alive and still very much involved. So I don't, yeah,
it's an odd situation to adapt. I feel like I think that's the first odd thing about this, is that this wasn't super long ago, and like it's a story that doesn't have an ending, and then they were like, hey, let's make this new thing. But it's number one on Netflix, and I guess that's all they care about, right?
True.
But outside of that, in terms of playing, I just got a review out for a game called Terror of Hemosaurus. If you're familiar with Rampage, you're familiar with what this game is doing. It's essentially like a city beat 'em up.
Hemosaurus.
It looks gorgeous, for one. Like, it's pixel art, but like it's really cutesy. It's really bright. Like, it uses cool lighting effects and particle effects. It uses a really dope kind of rudimentary physics engine, so that like you start beating on like the bottom part of a building, and then it'll lose its balance and then topple over and knock into other buildings. So like you can create like chain effects of destruction in that way. So all of that is actually really fun, even if it does get stale after a while, because like you're kind of doing the same thing, which is a similar issue I think Rampage has. Like, you don't really, the gameplay doesn't really evolve much over time. But it very strangely has a story mode that is hyper focused on climate change.
Ooh.
Like, the entire game's premise is based around the fact that humans are destroying the planet, and if we don't do anything to stop it, something catastrophic will happen. And in this game, the catastrophic thing is we release the Hemosaurus from an iceberg.
Oh man.
And so there's a cult who was waiting for the Hemosaurus. They start training it to kill humans and destroy cities for the purpose of teaching them to take climate change serious. It's like, oh, look, you guys weren't taking care of the planet, so this is your punishment, is this giant kaiju coming and destroying all your stuff. Therefore, start taking care of the planet. Like, that's their thesis. But over time, like, it really confuses itself, because it'll show different angles from like politicians or newscasters, all kind of blatantly disrespecting the thesis, and basically saying like they don't care that the Hemosaurus is killing people because it's only targeting poor people, they'll say, stuff like that. And then they'll give you they'll give you vignettes that basically show like regular families that are kind of just trying to go about their lives, and then Hemosaurus disrupting their families and like killing everyone. And like there's an early section where they tell you to literally like throw babies. Ooh. Like young children are modeled in the game, and like you're throwing them across the room so that they splat on the ground, and like it just gets really dark, really macabre, and it's supposed to be played for laughs, I think, but like at the same time they keep lecturing you about how you need to take climate change serious, and it's like, I'm supposed to take your word for how serious you want me to take climate change, but at the same time you're killing children. There's a section where you kill cats and dogs. And then, like, to make up for the cats and dogs section, there's a section right after where you have to hug cats and dogs. But, like, there was no section for hugging babies. So it's almost like the creators just really dislike humanity.
Dang.
Like it was so odd, and like as I was playing through it, like I felt worse and worse about playing through the game. And it's like these mechanics are kind of fun. Like, yeah, they get boring after a while, but like it's fun to like jump in and mess around with the city. But like everything is tinged in this guilt trip that just it just hammered home over and over and over again. So like it really left me with like a sour taste in my mouth at the end. And I don't know if that's intentional. Like maybe they wanted you to feel like, oh, like why are you spending your time playing this game when you could be trying to save the planet? And it's like the game even mentions the fact that individual people aren't really the problem. That it's like these rich mega corporations that are doing like this bulk of polluting. Like individual people doing their recycling every week isn't necessarily the thing that's going to put
that's over the top as far
the planet back on the right track. Yeah, it's like global policies that need to change, but at the same time it's still punishing all these regular people with the gameplay where you kill them in their homes. And so like I don't know which way they want the player to go and think. Like it's so odd. So like yeah, I really didn't know how to feel about that game by its end. Generally speaking, it's okay gameplay wise, but like story wise, it's kind of a mind fuck. Ugh. But I mean that's pretty much it. I do want to check out A Plague Tale Requiem. That's on Game Pass, so I'll probably give that a start. Unlikely I'll finish it, but I do want to. I'll probably gonna do more of that. I think I'll just start a bunch of games.
Why do you want to start if you're not going to finish it? I'm just curious.
Because I don't got the time. Like it's either I don't play it at all, or I at least play a little bit. Like that's where I'm getting to at this point.
Nice.
So I don't know. I'm gonna give that a shot. But that's it for me. What did you have, Jeff?
Hold on. All right, page 1.
Oh, Jesus.
For me, this week wasn't much, but I played a good amount of Overwatch 2. Got to had some fun with that. I think there's still some bugs with it because it had me at like a competitive rank, but I never did my placement matches. Like I thought I was doing my placement matches, but those were just matches within the competitive playlist, and I'm like, I thought that was weird. I think it kept like my rank from Overwatch 1, which I didn't think it was doing.
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty weird. Had some fun with that. I think I played healer like every match just because it was so much of a faster queue for competitive, and you got like double XP or something, or 500 plus 500.
Yeah, try to incentivize the kind of underpicked roles.
Right, and I didn't play much healer, but it was fun playing healer. I didn't know how fun it was playing healer.
Who did you use?
At first I did Myra, and then I did Mercy. Then I did some Kiriko before she got banned or from it.
They banned Kiriko?
They disabled her with her and Torbjorn because there was something going on with those two.
I thought it was Bastion and Torbjorn.
Bastion, Torbjorn, and Kiriko. At first, I think they released one of them. I don't remember who the last one was, but because there was something going on where they could do like a crap ton of damage or something. I didn't look into it. I just know they were disabled. So I started doing Mercy. I've never really played Mercy, but it was pretty fun. I think I had a good time playing heals. I won all 7 of my matches. I'm like, oh, okay, that was some good placement. I'm like, let's see what's going on. And I'm like, wait, it didn't say placement done. Like this is where you place. No, it just was like, and it's weird when I go and look at the hours I spent, the hours spent per character in competitive. It has 0 next to everybody for this season. So I don't know what's going on. So, but whatever, it'll work itself out.
That game has had some problems.
Yeah. But you can finally play without getting kicked out. There's still a lot of rollback from it. Some matches where we dealt with that in multiverses where something quick will happen and the characters would just snap back to where they were.
Yeah.
And which is like, oh my God. Sucks. But I've had a lot of fun with the game. I did some DPS. So Jordan is really good. I didn't realize how good she was. I started playing her.
Oh yeah, she's a DPS powerhouse.
Oh yeah, oh my God.
She can just keep shooting, I feel like.
Man, listen, it was so much fun. Like, and then her over penetration shots are just so good. She could take down a tank pretty significantly. Like as long as you have to get really good with her movement. So like starting her dash, her little leg slide, and then jumping gives her like extra jump, and just moving, sliding backwards, sliding to the side, just being moving around, creating space between you and whoever you're fighting against. Like sometimes I just put down like her little grenade and just stand in it, while melee were a closer character trying to stay up on me. They're just constantly getting damaged by the grenades, so it was fun. Besides Overwatch, I played some multiverses. Played that a couple times this week on stream.
There were like new character drops recently, right?
Stripe, which was the Gremlin, he was the last one, and before him was Rick.
Right, yeah.
So
I think Stripe is who I was thinking of.
Right.
Because I remember Rick hit the game already, and like Stripe, I guess, is like the October Halloween-y type
character
drop.
Now I'm wondering if they're gonna drop Black Adam with the movie being released. So we'll see.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So it'll be like cross, marketing. Oh, play multiverses. You got Black Adam. Go see the movie Black Adam. So just.
That makes sense.
So we'll see. But the game is still fun. I still experience some of those rollback issues here as well. I'll be doing something and something will happen and it'll completely mess me up, especially in a close match like that. Like come on, we can't have this. Like, ridiculous. So hopefully they fix that. But like the game is still fun. The characters are Stripe is very different than everybody else. I do think they do a good job of making everybody different. I do think you're gonna have to get away from their classifications somehow, because like characters that are mages don't play like traditional mages. They got they can do a little bit of everything. So I don't know if that's gonna be something they're gonna get away from in the future or what. But we'll see. That's all I've been playing, watching wise. Andor, last episode of that was it was funny, but it was a good episode. I don't want to get into why it was funny, but it was a good episode. It's definitely getting into the nitty-gritty of life during the Empire's occupation. Like tyrannical, like they can do whatever they want, like they make up stuff as they go along, they can levy taxes wherever they want, stuff like that, and just throw out the current government and just take over a planet, oh, this is in our jurisdiction now, and it's just crazy to see. We seen bits and pieces of that from the movies, but nothing to the extreme we get to see that in now. And even the political espionage in this, where you got to watch what you say and how you say it, and you always get, even when you're saying something that might not be what your face is saying. One of the characters is he's always smiling, always has a fake smile, but when he turns his back, he gets to really show how he really feels. So stuff like that I think is really good, and it's something new to the Star Wars universe. We haven't really saw this part, because before people thought the political part was boring and stuff like that. It can be.
I mean, that's because they showed it in, what is it, Return of the Sith?
Yeah,
Revenge of
the Sith. Yeah.
Where it was legit just big ass meetings in that weird Roomba room.
Yeah, it's true. But this part is more serious. One wrong word could get you taken out. Dead. And this is actually no, I don't want to say that. That would kind of be a spoiler. Aside from Andor, I watched Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War. I watched the first episode. Animation is looking pretty good.
That's good to hear.
I think I felt like a little kid watching it. Oh man, it was crazy. I was just so excited watching the animation, the way it started out, and it's really good. I'm saving the second episode until the third episode comes out. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to finish it too quick. So
I don't know how long this season's gonna run for, but I can wait until it's all out, because I'm excited to see it. I've missed Bleach as well. I know I'm gonna run through it as soon as all that stuff is out.
Right.
So I don't want to be waiting week to week for something like that, especially.
Right. And they did say they're adding a lot more to it, a lot more.
More than what was in the
manga. Yeah, a lot more exposition, a lot more combat, a lot more fights.
I don't know, that I feel like that might.
Well, I'm hoping that
sounds like they're filling.
It does seem like they're filling, but I'm hoping that Bleach's writing doesn't always hold up to today's standards. So I'm hoping some of that's going back in. I don't need it to end the exact same way the manga did. You know what I'm saying? I don't need that. Or go things exactly the same way, which the way this opens isn't the same way anyway. But I would like to see them go in and refresh some of those tropes and stuff and kind of add some fresh writing to certain spots.
Okay.
Yeah, but also I felt like the manga was rushed because it was the last chapter, and they were I think it was done after that, so we kind of felt kind of rushed that last arc. But this one I'm excited for. Like you said, I don't want to rush through it, but I heard it's not going to be done until like 2024 or something.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. They want to kind of get a lot of mileage out of this kind of last hurrah for Bleach, which used to be like a mega popular series, and then like it weirdly fell off and got canceled and kind of forgotten about. Like there's a lot of like there are like content creators who like they base their whole identity around anime, who will famously say like, oh, I never really watched Bleach, like I never got into Bleach, and it's because of that kind of dip in its popularity after it stopped airing.
Because even when it was first out, it was hard to find because there was no centralized location for these things. You can catch it on like Adult Swim late at night sometimes, but like where if you want to go watch a whole season somewhere, it wasn't readily available like that unless you like pirated it or something like that.
Yeah, torrents. Yeah, that's how I watched all of that.
I didn't do that, but but once it came to like
statute of limitations, you can admit it now.
That's true. Once it came, remember Hulu had it at first. When Hulu first came out, Hulu was free. Hulu was free at first.
Yeah, Hulu was free at first.
It was free at first, and it had Bleach on there and stuff like that. So like once it came out, I rewatched it a couple times since then, like on Hulu and on Netflix. It was, watch it a couple times. Lempy says, go see Black Adam. Please, we really need it. I wonder why. Black Adam, I've seen mixed reviews on. I've seen critics hate it. The audiences love it. It has like a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, I generally don't jibe with audience reviews because I feel like their reviews aren't based on the movie. Their reviews are based on like their personal feelings towards something, like either a hate for media or a love for the like the franchise, and like they're not evaluating the movie based on like, is it a good movie that someone other than me would really like, or even is it a movie that I would like? It's like, no, I just like this character, therefore I like that character's movie.
Sometimes it could be like that, but 90%, I don't know. Like I feel like critics, and this is just me, I've seen some reviews where they go too deep. I don't know if that makes sense. Like they'll go way too deep. Oh, the way this particular shot was shot, and this and that, and this and this. Like certain things, the story is important, right? The acting is important. The costumes are important. The sets. But like certain things, just I feel like they dive too deep into things. But also, like you said, it's the other side of the coin where people just related to something. So that's why I have to see it in order to judge.
Yeah, well, sure,
I like it,
Like I also want to see it myself, but I'm not gonna pay money for it, so I'll just wait until it goes to a place where I can.
Said the movie is bad, and you should feel bad about recommending it. this is for Lammy. See, I'm gonna have to go see it. Like I'm going to have to go see it just because I need to see for myself if it's bad. And also I heard about the post-credit scene or whatever, so I definitely got to go see it just for the post-credit scene. Yeah, Chainsaw Man, watch that. That was really good. I'm really liking that. The art style, the story so far, the characters. Yeah, because you haven't watched it, you probably won't watch it until it finishes. So I can't. There's no point even talking to you about it now because I'm not gonna be able to talk.
No,
to
tell
you.
me now how much you like it so that I can watch it and be like, no, this is ass. It's terrible. Why'd you recommend this to me?
No, it's really good. Animation is good. I was sleeping on it because it was so overhyped. I'm like,
Yeah, it was definitely
like the premise didn't even sound good to me. Chainsaw Man. I'm like, I've never been one in the chainsaw, so like but I watched it. It's pretty good so far. I enjoy it. I think it's a cute little show. It has some darker elements to it too. Like when you watch it, it's a little darker. Like so just be mindful of that if you do go check it out. And that's all I've been watching and playing.
It's funny that you called it cute. I didn't think of that as one of the descriptors that would come up. But Honey Money in chat also says, I think Chainsaw Man is so cute.
Right, see?
Like, wait, hold on. Honey Money, do you mean like the character is cute or do you mean like the show overall is cute? It's cute and dark, she says.
Yeah, it has cute moments into it. Like, it's hard to say without spoiling it, so. But it has some cuter and some darker moments to it. Like watch it and you'll see.
Okay, that's interesting. Honey Money says it has a dog that's a chainsaw.
Yeah.
All right. Whatever that means.
Pochi, or something like that.
It sounds like a Japanese dog name, yeah. Pochita. Honey Bunny says.
Pochita,
All right.
yeah, Pochita.
I think I rode a horse with that name once.
Ooh.
No, it was Poquita. My mistake.
Oh,
Oh, maybe I just pronounced it wrong.
Different pronunciation, but yes.
Okay, so I think
nothing,
that.
sorry.
Does that wrap up everyone's playing and watching, etc.?
si, senor.
Alrighty, so let's jump right into our first topic, the Bayonetta voice actress fiasco. If you guys don't know, the original Bayonetta voice actress for 1 and 2 posted several video messages on Twitter, essentially saying that she was lowballed an offer to reprise the role for the third game, that the entirety of the game was going to be $4,000 paid to her. And she, wrote to the company saying like, she has all this experience. She helped make the character what the character is today. She also states that Bayonetta is a $450 million franchise and that she's only seeing, this tiny bit of compensation for her contribution to it. Therefore, it's unfair. So please boycott the game until they make this right. And Twitter, as they do, took that information and ran with it, essentially bombarding both Hideki Kamiya, the president of Platinum Games, and Jennifer Hale, who is the current voice actress, with like messages kind of asking them to answer to this accusation. If you don't know Hideki Kamiya persona on Twitter, that man does not talk to you. Like if you want information from him, his response is to block you. That's just what he does. Yep. It's what he's done since the entire
That's not related
to
this. That's just Hideki Kamiya.
Yeah, like it has nothing to do with any of this. Hideki Kamiya will block you.
Yeah. Never tag him in anything.
Like he has a list of rules on his Twitter page that says, "Don't talk to me in English. Don't tag me. Don't ask me about games that aren't mine. Don't like." He's not going to deal with it. And so when a flood of people were hit up against this brick wall of Hideki Kamiya just blocking you for any and everything, they kind of didn't know what to do with that impotent rage, which I thought was very funny. But in terms of the actual issue, at some point, folks started to do some digging. Like, okay, if she's saying this is the case and Hideki Kamiya is not saying anything, journalists actually went and asked some folks who knew. And Jason Schreier, who's a well-known industry journalist, came back with some sources. Apparently, they have some documentation that says that the original voice actress was offered up to $14,000 to $15,000 for the entirety of the session. It was like maybe $3,000 to $4,000 per
20,000
hour.
would have been the max.
20,000 would have been max based on a $3,000 to $4,000 per session, with there being 4 to 5 sessions total. So like that's the information that came back, and a lot of folks just were like, oh, that's completely different than what you said. And then her response was, they're lying. I don't want to talk about this anymore. And that's kind of where things kind of laid. But that still brought up this back and forth argument about the fact that she was asking for a lot more money, and that she was also asking for what do you call it?
Residuals.
Royalties? Residuals,
right.
Yeah. So like she'd get a percentage of, everything that the game sells after the fact. And apparently it's not standard practice for voice actors or actresses to get any residuals for the work that they do.
Right.
And some folks think that that's bad. Like that should be changed. And I'm very curious what you guys' opinion is on that situation, because I feel kind of strongly about one side of this versus the other. So I'm just really curious how you guys think a situation like that should be handled. If an actor comes in to voice a character, helps bring that character to life, from that point forward, should they get residuals for the work that they did on that game?
I can jump in and say.
Yeah, just jump right in.
Yeah,
Okay. By the way, just to clarify, because I want to give the dues, it wasn't just Jason who saw the documentation; it was also Andy Robinson at VGC. So
that's true, yeah.
And those two are not. I don't think those two together would have like cooked up any like sides. I think they were independently shown this documentation. So, and also further wrinkle. I will say that I think that Helena Taylor also kind of threw a little bit of shade at current voice actor Jennifer Hale in her video, which put me off my feed a little bit. And
Mhm.
the counter, supposedly, when they offered her $15,000 to do 15 to 20,000 to do Bayonetta, she counter offered that she wanted a six-figure sum and residuals. So I will say this: I think Helena Taylor, I think it might have been a case of wanting to negotiate for higher pay and the company realizing that they could easily do without her. I don't know if that is enough. That's not necessarily enough for me to boycott the game, because pay negotiations fall through all the time for a multitude of reasons. It doesn't have to be anyone's fault.
Right.
And I don't necessarily think this one instance is an issue, is indicative of anything that unusual in the industry, put it that way. But
Okay.
when it comes to the topic of voice actor pay, I'm kind of two minds about it, because on the one hand, a voice actor can do, I mean, Bayonetta, she's the lead voice actor for Bayonetta, Helena Taylor is, and she has said in previous interviews that she did all of the voice work for the game in about 16 hours. 16 hours per game. And so there, and when you compare like what a voice actor does with a game, their amount of time spent working on a game, when you compare that with, like, say, the people who actually make the actual in-game characters, who model them, everyone who works on the game,
Mm-hmm.
who put in a, please focus camera. sorry sorry, my camera objects. But yeah, the people who put in probably considerably more work in the game, and will probably, it's like, where do you, at what point do we say the actor is the most important element of this thing? On the other hand, I will say that being paid, it is, I fully believe people deserve to be paid a living wage for the good work they do. And it is actually a challenging job, acting, especially when you're in a video game and you have to be like, you have to do things like make a lot of sounds per day. Like, I've heard a lot of voice actors say there is actually a lot of risk with what they do, because they'd have to do things like scream a lot, for example. And especially, it's like you have to get up there and basically sing opera all the time, and you're putting yourself and your voice and your money-making instrument at considerable risk. So yeah, I am of a, I can see both sides of an argument that say actors are paid enough, actors should get paid more, somewhere in the middle. I think part of the problem is there is a dispute, and they mentioned this in the chat too, but there is sort of like a push-pull of the fact that what is union standard pay fair in the industry. And part of the problem with negotiating a standard union pay is that there are a lot of non-union voice actors. So, I mean, you can say, like, yes, voice actors should get paid $4,000 per session or something, or voice actors should get paid like $10,000 per session or whatever. Like, unions can say that's what they want, but on the other hand, a video game developer can just say, okay, we're going to go with this non-union voice actor instead, who will accept $4,000 per session. And so that's the wrinkle when you're trying to negotiate for what's the term, for a union standard. And I mean, I don't know about the residuals thing. That's I think kind of a separate issue. And once again, that is the part that gets to me, is like, okay, we're saying that actors should get residuals, but not the people who actually
But not the rest of the staff who's also creating,
and that's not
arguably the bulk of the game.
And that's not always the case with I think Lampy said it too, with actual actors, because like the one instance I can remember that someone actually got residuals. Well, two cases. Black Widow, in her contract for the movie, there was residuals for that based on how the movie did. And then Tom Hanks for Forrest Gump, and that was because he put a lot of his money up. He didn't get paid for the movie. He just took residuals in the movie. So not even all actors get it. But the issue to me falls to where the success of the movie, of whatever the property is that the person is lending their voice to, becomes infinitely more popular than initially thought of, or whatever it is. There should be some way, hey, the second one you get paid more for doing it. The third one you'll get paid more for doing it from the second one. You know what I'm saying? When there's, I don't necessarily mean there need to be a percentage based off of what they sell, because once again, they are lending their voice. But we also see how important voices are. Like the Mario trailer, we saw how everyone loved how it looked, but the thing that they had critique on was the voice, right?
Yeah.
So a bad voice could. Like, we saw that with Peter Dinklage doing the voice for the Ghost in Destiny 2, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a bad voice could, doom a project. But also, if the voice is great and the gameplay and all that, there's infinitely more things behind that besides just the voice. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I will say that, even though maybe I seem slightly critical of Helena Taylor, but I will say in her defense, because people have been like jumping in, and because one of the things she said is, "I'm the voice of Bayonetta. I created that voice." And no, I don't agree with her, saying that Jennifer Hale doesn't have the right to call herself voice of Bayonetta. But to be fair, she did craft that voice. She is, she is the reason that we all know what Bayonetta sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
So I will, I want to defend her at least in that regard, that I do think she is right when she says that she's the one who created that voice, and anybody who succeeds her is merely imitating her. Because I do think that is the truth. As much as I love Jennifer Hale,
that does make sense. Like, because if Jennifer Hale decides to do an entirely different voice than what Helena Taylor does, that's not gonna go over well. I'm assuming Jennifer Hale is going to copy what Helena Taylor did.
And we've seen another time where other people get copied, but I don't know if it's ever we never know if it's a thing where, we've seen multiple characters do a voice. Like we saw Mark Hamill do the Joker. We've seen other characters do the Joker. We've seen multiple Batmen, right? Not just Nolan North. There's been a bunch of ones. They all do their take. Even though they sound very similar, it's always their take. But when you have just the same character, same exact character, and it's being voiced by somebody else, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go over, because like you said, the only way she can sell this is by doing the same exact voice.
Yeah. And
King's Dead is yelling at you. Kevin Conroy is Batman's voice.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, but just throwing it out there too as well. It's becoming more of a norm in the industry for actors to do motion capture or facial capture as well as doing the voice. So I think that adds a different wrinkle, to the pay thing. It's like, do you want to pay are you paying just for a voice? Are you paying for any kind of physical performance as well?
Mm-hmm.
That is also a bit of that does throw an extra wrinkle there, in my opinion, because they did actually have a motion actress for Bayonetta who was not Helena Taylor.
I didn't realize they did mocap for for the nonsense they're gonna have Bayonetta do in this.
Oh, they have there's a professional dancer, a professional Japanese dancer who does Bayonetta. I forget, I can't remember her name off the top of my voice, but I have seen her in the mocap suit doing Bayonetta's moves. It is absolutely extraordinary.
I think I need to see.
Yeah,
that.
You think like, Bayonetta can't possibly be based on it. No, this woman this woman brings it. I love her.
So I know, Ash, you're a really huge Bayonetta fan as well. How has all of this struck you, and like, what's your take on kind of the payment that the folks who are helping to bring that character to life are getting and deserve?
And I think everyone kind of already went into what my thought process was, and even started bringing up some other stuff during it too. So like, obviously, even and Lampy also said in the chat, it's like, getting potentially max of $20K for about 16 hours of work, right? Versus an actual developer who's putting in 40 plus hours a week and may not get that much in 1 month. Now, obviously, there's different parts and they need to be compensated correctly based off of how important it is, I feel. But between like voice acting versus a developer, I can't even start to think on which one I would deem is more important, depending on what type of game. You know what I mean? Like for Pokemon, I wouldn't care if the voice acting was great, if they had like actual voice acting. I really wouldn't care less. Like Pokemon's mostly for the story, so writers, and then like the actual gameplay mechanics. That's what I care about, not so much voice acting.
So is Zelda, which is more important in the Breath of the Wild?
In Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
Well, I switched to the Japanese dub for it, so I guess I have to say voice acting meant something for me because I didn't want to play the game in English. So I got to be fair on that one. But if no one had talked, I would have actually been okay, just because of very traditional Zelda where
that's
nobody
how
talks.
those
I'd
games
be
went
like,
before,
even for like Ocarina of Time, they just heard or the
Right.
like that's it. That's all I need. I'd be actually okay.
This
Do I think
way.
voice acting? Do I think voice acting could be cool for Zelda? Yeah, if they like for real went all out, like Breath of the Wild started doing a little bit, but I would be okay. But for something like Bayonetta, where like her personality and her charisma, and when she talks, that like really seals the deal. I do think that voice acting is very important for her character and for this game. So I definitely get it. It's and I was thinking too, like in comparison, but I think this is a wild comparison anyway. For like the movie industry, we have the people who are actually like filming and the crew that works in the movie versus the, A-list actors that are definitely, I don't know how much those people in the crew make, but I know they can't pay them more than they pay like Chris Hemsworth or Scarlett Johansson. I highly doubt that they did. But for a movie, I know part of the appeal is who the actors and actresses are. Like even when they do the Super Pets one with Crypto.
Right.
It's a bunch of like A-list actors just for voices when I don't even see the actors in the movie, but they still went out of their way just to get a AAA name. So I know they get paid more. But when it comes to like usually in the video game sense, I do think that it's hard to get more work. I'm sure like, there's a bunch of people who are very talented in the space, and people who don't already have a name have to work triple just to try to get their name out there so they can be in some bigger roles, I'm sure. Right. So I don't know like how much Helena has left, like other than Bayonetta, I don't know what other work she's been doing in the meantime, right? So even though 20,000 is a lot in 16 hours, I don't know when she's going to get her next check per se, right?
She's primarily a theater actress in London.
Okay, so then never mind. If she's primarily, I don't know how much they get paid either. Let me be fair.
Not much.
See, so like when it's like if you don't get paid a lot, it makes more sense for 20K 69 makes more sense to me in that front when I hear that. Even though 20K takes me like almost half a year, well less, but almost half a year for me to earn that much. So it's like for 16 hours, wow, you're getting that much money. Why wouldn't you just take that? But it's also like she has the rest of the year other than those 16 hours, and I don't know what she gets like large sums of money for. So it kind of makes sense. I get it.
But she's not gonna get rich off of one project, unfortunately.
Right. She won't. And that's why it's like if you only get like 2 or 3 projects a year, then 15K from if each project starts to sound more realistic for like a decent living wage.
And I want to say, I feel like a part of this is the fact that, like you're saying, I don't think she does this kind of work often enough. Like she's not kind of in tune with like just the process of video games or like just video games
in general
impact on mass media in general. Cause like she just had a lot of information that just came out of like nowhere and had no basis in terms of like one, how popular Bayonetta is. Because we all know Bayonetta. We like Bayonetta. Bayonetta's not like a super high profile, high selling game.
It's not.
So like
she claimed the game made $450 million. I'm like, I want to see the freaking receipts on that because that was part of the reason that we were so sure there wasn't going to be a Bayonetta 2 or 3 for a long time was because they didn't sell well. We loved it. I mean, the people who loved the game loved it, but it just didn't sell very well. It didn't have a lot of mass market appeal.
So I think her perception of maybe video games as a whole, like the mainstream is like, oh, well, I guess video games are really popular now, right? Like what was that thing that basically had a Super Bowl commercial? Oh, Call of Duty costs how much now? Oh, Grand Theft Auto made how much now? So for the layperson, they might just be thinking like, oh, video games are a really big deal. So if I'm working on a video game as a voice actress, why are they paying me this when these games make that?
Right.
And
so.
I'm also curious, and we won't find this out. I doubt that the new voice actress is getting royalties or a percentage of that. Right? Yeah. Like I doubt that. Like that's highly doubted.
Practice, apparently.
Like I could see her getting paid more just because she has to take this role as someone new coming to it, and she has to craft this. She has to come up with the voice to kind of mirror that one. Unfortunately,
to fill in the gap.
Right, and also it's a lot more pressure on it because it's already been an established voice. So I can see a little bit more money, but I definitely don't think they were like, oh, we'll give her $4,000, but we'll give you $40,000 for the role or something. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, I mean, the person they hired to replace her is Jennifer Hale, who is the most popular voice actress on the planet. But I will say this because I've had the pleasure of meeting Jennifer Hale. That she is a and she also said this. Unfortunately, I met her on a Zoom call. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it was. I will say that she does have a track record of speaking out in favor of voice actors being treated and paid fairly in the industry. So I don't think she would have come into this if she had any inkling that there was anything underhanded being done against another actor. I think she took this role in good faith, and I will say it was a little bit iffy when Helena Taylor was like when referred to a woman who has 400 times more acting credits than she does as a new girl.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a little bit like, beg your pardon?
Makes her seem more out
Yeah,
of
like
touch,
again, there's like this idea
yeah.
that like Helena Taylor, didn't really know what she was talking about. Like she maybe somehow got third-hand information about. Like I feel like you have like it seemed like she had a friend in her ear who was like, "Oh, I read this thing,"
and they Googled
and
it.
You're getting cheated. Yeah, therefore you should go and send a Twitter mob after whatever because that seems to work. Like you know what I mean? Like it just seemed all just very ill-conceived.
Yeah, and
but no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I didn't have a. I'm forming my thoughts. Keep going.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to chime in on the whole residuals topic because it's gonna sound harsh. Like I love creators. Like I'm on the side of the creator. I'm a creator myself, but I do feel like it does not make sense for someone who comes into the video game space as a voice actor to get residuals on a character.
I can see that.
Like
that's just
like I just don't
for people who created that character and they're selling it to another company. They'll offer them a flat rate,
right.
Like the people who created Superman. They sold it to DC for either a flat rate or residuals, and they usually give them the option to choose this amount or residuals. So,
but even a situation like that kind of doesn't apply here,
right?
Because the voice actor didn't create the character. Like what a voice actor does is they get information from the creators on what is required, like what they want, what they think this character should sound like, what their attitude is. They get shown what the character looks like. They get shown maybe footage of what the character does. And then the voice actor comes up with the voice for that character. So even as prolific as the voice might be for a certain character and how close to the identity of the character is, it's still something that was, in a sense, contracted from them.
Right.
Like they don't have ownership over that character. They supplied something to its creation for sure, and they get paid for that work. But at that point, it's like, thank you for the job you did. Right. We pay you fairly. I don't see why going forward, all the sales and stuff would still come back to you who contributed just that part. As meaningful as it is, like I'm not trying to downplay, the work that voice actors do. Right. Because like I appreciate great voice talent as well.
But it still works for hire.
Doesn't seem fair. Yeah, it just doesn't seem fair. Like based on the people who do the coding, people who do the planning.
In Bayonetta's case, the artwork. I feel like if I was going to give anybody residuals first, it would be whoever drew when they first came up with the conception of Bayonetta, and someone drew the character like, "Hey, this is what she should look like." That person, whoever got the initial design of Bayonetta, and then it formed into what she became,
Mari Shimazaki.
I'd rather they get residuals before anyone else.
Her and I also I remember the name of the dancer. Her name is Mako, or I believe that's how it's pronounced in Japanese, but I could be completely off. But I also put a video in chat of her doing her thing.
I posted the link for you. So I saw you got.
I think she played just as much a role in what we remember about Bayonetta as either of the voice actors. But yeah, just real quick about the residuals. People have been pointing out that the union, that SAG-AFTRA, the union, does not. They negotiated for higher pay, but they did not get residuals. The reason they didn't get residuals is because they made it. They wanted it to be more. I don't know if it was more standard, or they were negotiating for actors to get bonus pay for doing more sessions. So basically, if you end up, if you're contracted for 5, I think it was if you're contracted for 5 sessions, but you end up doing more, you get paid more in addition to your session fee. I think that was what they were negotiating for. And to me, that makes more sense because, like I said, voice acting, as with any other physical performance, carries with it an inherent risk. So to me, it makes more sense to say, we want you to get more pay for doing more of the physical work that you have to do for the role.
Right.
Then, especially since, again, I really think I do agree that voice actors, I think in general, are underpaid, but I'm not going to say that they need to get what, say a screen actor gets their time, because the screen actor is lending their likeness and their voice to a role, and they are in a much better, that puts them in a much better negotiating position.
but even in that regard, like as much as screen actors do for their craft, I probably think that they're overpaid.
Yeah, I'm not just gonna dispute that either.
But yeah, like overall, like like if anyone should be getting residuals, it should be the team that crafts the core of the game experience. And regardless of how cinematic games get, like I don't think the voice talent that comes in like after the fact is like I don't feel like they're super deserving of residuals. Like I feel like that sounds harsh, but like and the worst part is it's the companies that own the IP that actually get the residuals. Like I don't think any individuals as part of that dev team actually get residuals unless it's like an indie team that isn't under some big umbrella corporation.
I think, and I know we might want to move on from this topic before, but I did want to say there is an actual I think the reason residuals get brought up in this is because one of the ways that VAs can make more money from their roles is merch, and Taylor did mention merch when she said she has no right to sign merchandise as Bayonetta. That was one of the things she specifically said about the new girl, was that she has no right to say that she is the voice of Bayonetta, and she has no right to sign merchandise as Bayonetta. So I think part of it might be that that voice actors do also get paid a lot for like convention appearances, for signings, that kind of thing, and that in itself also creates wrinkles because you're because like the likeness of the character that they are portraying is not their own. So and it's not like they're signing something that has their voice on it. They're signing a print of a character they played, for example. So I think merchandise is another part of it as well.
That makes sense.
Hello, Ash.
Yes. So yeah, if there's anything else on this topic, say your piece now because we are going to move on.
I love Bayonetta. Continue.
No.
I love Bayonetta. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
I'm playing Bayonetta 3. I'll just say that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wasn't going to buy it at launch or anything, but yeah, I did not jump on that boycott bandwagon because I just don't like the idea of sending a Twitter mob to do your dirty work. Like if she did have a dispute, like there was another way to go about trying to get that resolved other than crying to Twitter.
And I was mad that she gave up so quickly if it was an absolute lie and blah blah blah.
She did give up pretty quickly.
That was my thing. I was like, how'd you give? If it was an absolute lie and you were that upset to boycott earlier, but then you just gave up after someone like countered it slightly, and it was an absolute lie, and this is garbage. They're trying to save stuff.
Like now she wants to put it behind her.
No. But continue.
So yeah, it's real funky. But we'll move on to our next bit of business here: the CMA's review of Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. CMA is a British, or UK, I should say, regulatory body. They're just like the Brazilian one, just kind of got through their looky-loo at the acquisition and basically pushed it through. The CMA is doing their due diligence now, but all of the documentation that's been coming out seems to be kind of fishy. And how it's kind of just parroting a lot of the talking points that Sony has had in opposition to this deal, all of which is laughably, what's the word? Not contradictory.
It's like the pot calling the kettle black.
Right. But why did that word fall out of my brain? What the word that says you're doing a thing? Hypocritical. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, me.
Yay!
It's super hypocritical that they're basically trying to paint Microsoft as this entity who's going to ruin the industry and hurt consumers by making certain IP, specifically Call of Duty, exclusive to their platform, when Sony literally bases their entire strategy on getting as many exclusives as possible and just kind of weird sweetheart deals that just keeps Microsoft gamers out of the loop in terms of like time exclusives, long-term exclusive. It's all Sony ever does and talk about is exclusives. But they're crying in this email about Microsoft potentially doing the same thing, and the CMA seems to be eating it up. So like the latest information that's coming from them is that they're asking the public for input because Microsoft responded by saying like this doesn't make any sense. We're not going to do any of this stuff. Here's a bunch of evidence as to why and how. And yeah, I don't know. I'm confused as to what, like, who's on this board with CMA and like what their intentions actually are. Like, is it more a political thing? Like they want to seem heavy-handed in this regard by stopping this sort of business? Like I'm curious what you guys think about the situation?
I
got some hands and some pockets. You know what I'm saying?
Chancellor Pocket.
You feel like some funds are?
Yeah.
I mean, like Sony is super popular in Europe. They have a lot of strength there in that region. You think this is a conspiracy?
Conspiracy.
I didn't know if Jeff or Asher was going to talk first. So.
Go ahead.
No, I mean jump in, anyone.
Yeah, go ahead if you want.
Well, I mean, what strikes me is that they're now seeking public comment about this, and I'm like, why do you need anyone's opinion about
Right.
this?
Either it's right or it's wrong.
Yeah, either this is anti-competitive or it's not. And you know, if they're asking for my opinion, they're gonna get it. This is to me, this is not anti-competitive, as Microsoft has said itself in its like counter statement to this, which I love reading legal documents. They're so shady. But yeah, in response to this, where they said it doesn't make any fiscal sense for us not to sell Call of Duty on PlayStation. We would be throwing money away if we did that. And like, to me, that is the crux of the issue. Like, what about this would eliminate like, why are we concerned that Microsoft would shoot itself in the foot just to not give Sony something? Like, that is a level of petty that does not make any kind of business sense. Like, to me, like, the anti-competitive question is more of like, is Apple anti-competitive for making all transactions go through its payment on iOS go through its payment apparatus? Like, that's an competition question with an actual debate behind it. But to me, this is not anti-competitive. This is business, and it doesn't, you could easily say the same thing about Sony buying Bungie, for example.
God of War coming out next month.
Yeah. You could easily say the same thing about Sony buying Bungie, for example. It's like, oh, well, Destiny 2 suddenly not going to be available, or, whatever, if they're working on Destiny 3, is Destiny 3 just not going to be available on Xbox anymore? And we know the response is, well, why would they take it off Xbox? It literally doesn't hurt them to put it on there, and it makes them a lot of money.
If anything, Destiny players have gotten less content because of the exclusive deals. Right.
And that was before Sony even owned them.
Right. They would get like New Strike for free. They would get exclusive content that didn't come to Xbox, stuff like that. I think it's just their way of trying to throw a wrench into it, because if you think about it, like, while Call of Duty is popular, it is not as popular as it once was. Like, it is not the mega blockbuster that Call of Duty used to be. So if we're talking about a game that neither party owns and they're worried about making it exclusive, right? Like, there's a lot of exclusives that, that's how Sony makes their money, like on all their exclusives, right? The same thing could be said. Oh, they only, they monopolize the market by making all these exclusives, right? Whether they outsource them to somebody else, like, that would be the same. To me, that's in the same vein. I don't see people jumping ship because of Call of Duty and going out and buying the Xbox. But also, like you said, they're not going to make it. They would just be. They would not have to not like money in order for them to make that an exclusive Xbox game. Like, whether that's after the 7 year, I think it was like a 7-year deal, but they wanted to, or 3-year deal, but they wanted to talk about after that deal. That's like me telling you, I'll give you $200. You're like, well, let's talk about 4. Like, I'm throwing you a bone. Like, I'm not obligated to do this, but in the sense of being inclusive, yeah, we'll talk about a 3-year deal, and depending on how things go, we'll definitely keep it, multi-platform. I just think that's their way of trying to prevent this acquisition, because they know what it would mean for Game Pass, and Xbox in general. Because to me, Xbox first-party games are the worst. Let's just say it. Let's just throw it out there. The Xbox first-party games are the worst.
This is Superman Jeff's statement. It does not represent the entirety of the podcast or the people in it.
Every Xbox presentation I see, I keep hoping that the first-party games are going to be it. The ones that they have announced that might be good or might be bad, I'm not sure. But
they just haven't shown up yet.
Like Fable, stuff like that. But like the stuff like that Dinosaur Extinction game, which was talked about quite a while ago, that wasn't that good. It was very the world felt very empty.
I think that was still like in the second
Right.
extension you're talking
Yes.
about. I think that's still in like early access
Right.
or game preview or something.
Crackdown 3. Let's just go there. You know what I'm saying? So like this would be able to help them fix some of those issues, I think, and also having like Overwatch, and I would be more concerned about Overwatch now or Diablo 4 than I would be about Call of Duty right now, just because of it hasn't done well since Vanguard. I've heard bad things about the remake for.
I get what you're saying and how it doesn't have like the kind of power it used to or the prestige it used to, but honestly, it still does sell gangbusters every single release. Like it still is a very big deal. So like in comparison to like some of the other titles you have listed, like Call of Duty is by far outselling them by like leaps and bounds still.
Yeah, and I think what the CMA has said, like I don't think this is a particularly convincing viewpoint, but their viewpoint is, and I'm quoting directly here, Microsoft's past business practices suggest that it may be willing to make losses in the short term in order to build scale and increase its user base. Yeah. So I do understand that I can say it's like, well, Microsoft wouldn't throw away money like that. But the CMA's response is, well, they would if it means that next console cycle, people are only going to be buying Xboxes. So I do see their point of view. I don't agree with it, but I do see their point of view.
Yeah, I do think that is a legitimate possibility. But then like Microsoft has fired back, and like we already knew from their history that they've done, like the last big ass acquisition they did was of Mojang and of Minecraft,
right,
which is a multi-platform title, which is arguably as big as Call of Duty, and they kept it multi-platform. Like as they said they would, and they did, and it continues to be multi-platform. It's on every single platform. So if they say such a thing for a game like Call of Duty, their past track record seems to suggest that they would follow suit, especially if Call of Duty sells as much as it does. And like the thing is, like Microsoft also made the point, this could be fabrication, but I kind of don't think it is. They made the point that they're actually so far behind Sony and Nintendo, but so far behind Sony in particular, that even if the majority of Call of Duty players moved over from Sony's console to Microsoft's exclusively, Sony would still be the market leader. Like that, like it's not Call of Duty players that are keeping them at the top of this pile. Like Sony has, like Jeff mentioned, a bunch of their own high quality exclusives, and that is the core of their business. That is why people love Sony and flock to Sony, and why Sony's a household name is because of their exclusives, not just because of Call of Duty. Like those two things help each other, but just losing the Call of Duty part is not going to all of a sudden put Sony in like third place.
Right. Or even second place.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably not.
I did find it hilarious that, you know, Microsoft is like, well, why aren't you going after, you know, why isn't Nintendo involved in this? Because Call of Duty isn't available in Nintendo at all. And the CMA's response is basically like, yeah, well, they make things like that Wii balance board and stuff. They're a totally different audience. Like they specifically mentioned the Wii, they call it the Wii Fit board, but they specifically mentioned the Wii balance board, and I'm like, that is the first. I have not even thought about the Wii balance board in like 10 years.
Yeah, that's
really
not
crazy.
Blast from the fucking past.
Consoles. Right.
Lampy in chat says, Casey, you're forgetting this is about Microsoft as a whole, not Xbox. But no, I don't understand how this is about Microsoft as a whole. Like, yes, Xbox is part of Microsoft, but making the Xbox branch of their company a better competitor to Sony's game division, how does that now? Because if you're looking at Sony and Microsoft as terms of just individual companies, like without just their gaming divisions, then sure, Microsoft is like a much bigger company than Sony, right? But
I'm not sure. Well, it's bigger than Sony, but I don't know if it's that much bigger than Sony.
It's like, but the thing, so is that how you're saying they're framing this? Like, oh, Microsoft company period will get even bigger than Sony? Because like Microsoft and Sony are competitive in a lot of other things than just gaming.
Right.
So it's weird that this would somehow lock, because I don't agree with that at all, honestly, because none of the points that are being brought up have anything to do with like Sony's movies or Sony's
music,
electronics or whatnot. Like they're specifically talking about how the game divisions are competing with each other, because they do compete directly, like openly.
Yeah.
with one another.
I also don't want to just side with Microsoft unilaterally, because a lot of the stuff they're putting out is they are trying to sway public opinion to their side. So I want to keep in mind that Microsoft is, Microsoft statements are intended to serve its own interest here. So I'm not going to be over here like taking sides with.
I will kind of take a side here because I've said for a long time how anti-consumer Sony's behavior and policies have been.
Crossplay and whatnot.
Yeah, like Sony for a very long time have done whatever they wanted. You blame Ash. Yeah. They've done whatever they wanted because they are the market leader, which is something that Microsoft does point out. Like, it's super obvious that they've raised the prices of, games. They've raised the prices of their console. They make proprietary technology so that you have to pay more to use specific Sony stuff. Like, they've done this for years. It's part of their identity. And Microsoft has softened in that regard in trying to win back the favor of consumers. And sure, it's for the reasoning of trying to, regain some market space in order to ingratiate themselves so that they can sell more stuff. Like, it's a solid strategy, but at the end of the day, it is a better deal for consumers. And that's the side that I lean towards. Like, if Sony's basically saying like, F the people, they'll just buy whatever we give them, and Microsoft's saying like, well, we'll give you a deal for the stuff we want to sell you, I'm going to go with the guys who are offering a deal. It just makes more sense to me. Like in this situation, Sony does feel like the bad guy.
They seem like the kid in this situation. It's like, oh, no, that's not fair. If they get them, then, like, I feel like, once again, to me, anti-competitive to be where if Microsoft bought Nintendo and Nintendo bought Microsoft, that would be anti-competitive, because those two companies, a merger of that magnitude would definitely own the video game landscape. Like, I just feel like that would just kill everything. To me, this isn't the same thing. This definitely is not. Like, I'm not going to see myself, I'm going to buy an Xbox because they bought Blizzard, and maybe in the future there'll be an exclusive Blizzard game. Like, I just don't see that happening. Anybody who has a PlayStation isn't going to jump ship there just because Microsoft bought Blizzard. Their mind was made up without Call of Duty. I don't think Call of Duty was a deciding factor in them buying a PlayStation.
I do think that I just want to clarify, the reason I'm not necessarily siding with Microsoft is because I don't, I understand legally why they're using this strategy, but I also think it's a little bit transparent that their strategy is basically like, what, little old us? We're not a big deal to Sony. They're talking about like how low they are in the console like sales charts compared to Sony. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, cloud gaming's not that big a deal. It's still in its infancy. It's not going to have an effect on this decision. It's like, Microsoft, come on. Stop with the self-effacing nonsense. Come on now. It's like,
no, that's true.
I'm not saying it doesn't have like some basis in fact, but they're putting it out there in such a way as to make themselves go, oh, us, we're not a threat. Please, why would we ever want to, and it's like, to a certain extent, I'm just like, come on, Microsoft, stop that.
But to be fair, isn't the spirit of competition them being a threat?
Right.
Like this, like if the cloud stuff is on the horizon and Microsoft owns it and Microsoft is, getting more market share in the gaming space, the fact that they are becoming a threat to Sony when their current position is that they're not really, isn't that what competition in the market should be? Like, isn't that what they should be hoping for, rather than saying like, oh, well, no, if you do this, you'll be too close,
right,
in comparison to Sony. Therefore, don't do it. Like, I feel like that's super backwards.
Respect.
It's strange because this almost doesn't feel like it's about the Activision Blizzard deal anymore. It's like they're using Call of Duty as the stick, but or the carrot rather, but it doesn't even feel like it's about that anymore. Yeah,
that's kind of why early in the conversation I was saying like it seems like there's some other objective here. It's like, does the CMA have a track record of maybe not being too lenient when it comes to like these sorts of things, and now they're like, oh well, we need a big headline that says the CMA put a stop to this, which means that they're for the consumer. Mm-hmm. But so this would have been a good instance, except for the fact that it's actually the opposite. Should they put a stop to this, it's actually very anti-consumer. So like maybe that's why they're like, all right, well, we were trying to make a bullshit argument as to why we're going to say no, but then we're getting all this feedback that says you guys are effing this up. And so now they want to, get even more feedback to kind of try and confirm like whether or not they're on the wrong, like this isn't the thing to give them that slam dunk that they're looking for.
Right. And something in the comments that we need to consider Microsoft as a whole, and we need to consider Sony as a whole too. We've seen them not want to play nicely, right? What was that with Spider-Man, Tom Holland, when they had to deal with Marvel and they wanted Marvel to pay for everything, but still they wanted to get that, they wanted to reap the benefits of it. Like that's yeah, like that shows you a past behavior as well. If we're going to include the entire company, because Sony is notorious with just cash grabs. That's just what it is. Just cash grabs. When they saw with Morbius, even though this isn't the same thing, when they saw the memes coming out, let's re-release it. Yeah, we'll get some more money for this if we re-release it again.
Yeah, they re-released a terrible movie because they thought all the jokes about it would get people back into theaters. It's hilarious. Lampy says the CMA has a fairly good track record.
Ooh. Of what exactly?
Yeah, of what? Of stopping mergers?
I just want to just be more specific, Lampy, of making decisions based in the games industry or mergers, acquisitions.
I think the most recent thing I heard that they were instrumental in putting a stop to
not being overly harsh.
Okay.
Was Facebook buying Giphy.
Oh, okay.
Like they basically said, like, no, you can't do that because then they would limit the ability for people to use, GIFs in other social media stuff. And Facebook already owns Instagram and WhatsApp and stuff like that.
If Disney can buy Fox, I don't see an issue with this. I'm just being.
But I think that's part of the problem, right? It's like because of those bigger acquisitions that now seem like very ubiquitous. It's like, all right, well, we can't let all these other companies keep doing this.
But they've already let it happen.
A roadblock somewhere.
If they had a basis for it, like, oh well, this and that, like there would have been a basis for it. But if like I feel like as far as like someone owning the space, Disney owned the space before they bought Fox. So them buying Fox just gave them the rest of the space, whatever space was left. Like anybody who was making like superhero movies, like forget about it. Like they own that space. Maybe 2% of that space is DC, but they own 98% of that space. And that's
like maybe in like mindshare, but like Warner Bros. Probably has a bigger footprint than their movie Rotten Tomato scores would suggest.
Not anymore, not with all cuts. But I feel like if something like that will go through, that's why I had no inclination that there would be any issue with this going through. I do feel like it's more of a Sony's worries and a stink. And this is their way, but I think Rachel mentioned it has to be something more behind the scenes besides just Call of Duty. That's they're trying, they're making them raise their eyebrows and say, no, we oppose. It's like at the wedding is all those anyone here who objects to this union, please stand up. And everyone in Sony is standing up saying, we object. So I wonder what behind the scenes it is, because like I said, just Call of Duty doesn't make sense that this is where they would take their stand is with Call of Duty.
And I do think that, the CMA, they haven't made a decision yet. All they've said is that, well, we're going to look into this further, which in and of itself is not a bad sign. It is a good sign that they're not making a knee-jerk decision on this. Right. And they are investigating fully. And I think, again, that's why I'm saying Microsoft is maybe going off a little bit half-cocked here. I mean, I'm not saying that Sony is absolutely being self-serving with this whole like they're not giving us Call of Duty stuff, but Microsoft is also being self-serving with the whole like Call of Duty isn't that big a deal, you're just listening to Sony's lawyers and not thinking about it. That is also there's two different forms of self-serving here, but they are both trying to convince people that their view is the correct one,
because public perception is usually reality, so they definitely want to create that ambience so that people start to, that's how they see it. If people believe that that's how it is, then that's how it is, regardless of what the actual facts are. Them opening it up to the consumer, I don't feel like most consumers have an issue with it. Most people are either for it or most people just don't care. Like I didn't hear anybody who is a Sony pony saying, oh my God, yeah, no, that can't happen, I'm against that. Like I haven't heard anyone say that at all.
Right.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, I don't think the sentiment, even from like diehard Sony fans, is that
We care.
this will be detrimental to
God of War's out
Sony.
next month. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that's their kind of stance on it. But at the same time, like I'm curious, like who from the public would actually answer this call? Like, is it the diehard Sony people who would maybe jump to Sony's defense and just echo whatever Sony is saying because that's their king and they'll do they'll do whatever they want? Or will you get like maybe honest opinions where someone goes like, yeah, I don't think this is that big a deal, so maybe you guys should stop going all crazy about it?
Yeah, just let it go. I mean, either way, I'm getting Diablo 4 as long as no more crazy stuff goes on with there. So, Call of Duty, I think Modern Warfare 2, from what I heard, didn't do very well, and it wasn't very good from what I heard.
You mean Modern Warfare 1?
Modern Warfare, the remake? Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, because Modern Warfare 2 is the one that is coming out on the same day as Bayonetta 3.
Ooh.
So I hope Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 doesn't sell well.
The beta, the open beta, that I heard that didn't go very well.
It worked good for me.
Oh, it did?
For me, yeah. I had a great.
I heard you stunk.
Wow, that's definitely not true. That's impossible.
But yeah.
Okay.
Stuff.
Thanks for that.
I like
stuff. But so it looks like we're wrapping things up here. Any lingering thoughts in regards to this whole CMA review of this acquisition? Yes? No?
Real quick, because I sadly had to go keep stopping my kids from fighting over an iPad. So I was gone for most of it. My only thing that I was gonna say was that when it comes to consumer choice, at least for these most recent years, when crossplay and cross-platform started becoming more like the main thing for everyone. Like every time a game comes out for a certain developer or a certain or may usually be a certain platform, usually people ask, is it cross-platform? Is it cross-play? Like it's a very common question now. No one asked back in the day. You would just assume that if your friends were playing a game on PlayStation, you could not play it with them if you were on a different console. Now everyone's like, hey, is it cross-play? Is it cross-platform? And is it cross-progression? Which one is it? Is it at least one of the three, if not all? But with Microsoft, when that first started becoming like normal, was like the biggest company to like push for it, and almost every time it came up in a conversation that they were pushing for that. Obviously, like inevitably, if they wanted to, they could make the decision not to. Regardless of the money part, though, it just seemed like that's not what they were trying to do. Oh, Xbox, since it's technically different from Microsoft. It doesn't seem like that's what Xbox wanted to do. They wanted players to be able to play with each other wherever they are, and then inevitably with all the things that they're buying, like you guys were saying, like they got Bethesda, so it's like they won't change for the already known IPs. More than likely, they'll let those still be cross-plat, so that people who are already fans playing on their systems years ago can keep playing new games. But when Bethesda makes a new IP, now that might be exclusive to Xbox, but they'll probably keep the ones that have been across different consoles up until now. It remain across different consoles. That just makes sense because, like you guys said, consumers won't like it if they one day were just randomly like, "Hey, no more Elder Scrolls on anything else but Xbox."
Yeah, and that one remains to be seen because, like, again, like of all the exclusives that they've made in-house and have now acquired, nothing has come out.
Yeah.
So like so it's hard to really say like that they have a track record of keeping that sort of promise, even though the rumors circulate that maybe they will, but like they got to get something out and kind of prove it that this is how they're going to handle that sort of thing.
So that's what I'm hoping, that they keep because they at least said it. I remember for Elder Scrolls, they during the Bethesda presentation, like it will, at least a new one, 6 will come out on other platforms. I remember that was like said. Still, obviously things change.
Starfield too.
Yeah, Starfield will remain to come out on different platforms, but I'm hoping that that's what they do. They're like already well-known, established IPs. Let them continue to come out wherever they were already coming out.
Did they say that about Starfield?
I'm pretty sure they did. I thought that was something they promised to all the people who backed it and everything, because that was a big question everyone was asking.
I know that was a big question everyone was asking too.
He's
Why I
like,
feel
but
like
did they
that
answer?
as a brand new IP was the one that they were like, no, that's going to be exclusive because that's a big deal and it's new.
I think because there were already people who are on certain platforms and already were like really invested.
But like the
it's
game
like,
doesn't
bro,
exist yet.
I
So,
know
like,
it doesn't.
Like
Yeah.
who is this audience that's like, oh, I'm on a platform,
Oh,
therefore,
there,
like
there are
they
already
don't
people
they
who
never
are
played the
like
game.
Starfield's the best game ever, and all they've done is say. There are people who are
Like, no,
ready to fight
I
for
don't know.
it.
I don't think that's true.
Really,
I think
Lampy? I thought
Starfield
it
is
was
going
supposed
to
to be gone.
be exclusive.
Really? I mean,
Yeah,
hey.
it's whatever existed beforehand that they're a little more coy about whether they're going to do that at some point or not.
Well, no, but as long as they keep the ones that
Like,
already existed to where they've been releasing on, I think that's fine. And then new IPs do whatever they want because it's theirs, almost quote unquote fully theirs.
Well,
They'll do whatever you
well,
want.
to be fair, new IPs are also like when you say when someone says like if they take Call of Duty away from PlayStation, that's going to have a detrimental effect on their business. You can present actual numbers of sales of Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles to back that up. Starfield, you could say hypothetically it's like, having that as an Xbox exclusive is going to hurt our business, but you don't have any money, you don't have any numbers to back that up because Starfield has never existed on PlayStation.
Right.
It has not existed on PlayStation yet. So it's much less I would think that's much more difficult to prove that has a detrimental effect on your business.
That's true.
Which is probably to Microsoft's benefit, for better or for worse.
yeah.
So,
Respect.
but yeah, as long as they hopefully keep it that way for the previous ones, just to continue being on the platforms that people are used to seeing them on, I don't really have a problem with anything. I don't care what they do. I'm on PC anyway, so I can play their games regardless without an Xbox. So
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
live my
you
life.
can't.
And
You ain't playing.
we see how Sony treats PC as well. Like
Yeah.
after maybe a year or two,
You'll get.
if you're lucky,
You'll
their
get God
stuff,
of War.
If you're lucky.
has now finally shown up.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you for that. We'll go ahead and wrap up today's show. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thanks everyone in chat. Ash, why don't you let folks know where they can find you?
Yes.
And what you've been doing.
Yes, because now I can actually say I've been doing something because I streamed last night. So
Yeah.
since I've been doing stuff for one night, and who knows about my consistency yet, but I will definitely be trying to do more of the Devour stream. It's October, so I gotta get some.
Yeah, you gotta get the spookies.
Gotta get some spookies out, right? Ultimately, when we were done playing that game, we were like, God, I hated that, but it was actually kind of fun, more fun than we thought it'd be, especially for $5. Seriously, that's the best $5, most fun I've had with $5 I've ever spent. So,
Okay.
so we'll be trying to organize some time for us to play that. One of us in that group works a very late shift, so we might have to find a substitute fourth. If anyone's interested, feel free to DM me on Discord if we're already friends and such. But otherwise, I'll be doing more of Devour because I became a COD shill after they rebooted in 2019. I'll be playing some Call of Duty this week. And listen, once you get good at the game, I don't care anymore. It's like, oh, I'm good now? Sweet. I can do something. And people might actually be able to praise me online because I need validation. So I'll be doing Call of Duty when that drops fully at the end of this week. I've been creating some content for the campaign, which I'll be uploading to my YouTube channel within this week before the full game drops, also at Ash Redux. So yeah, follow me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube at Ash Redux. Watch my stuff. Give me money. I said it. I don't care. Give me money, please. I have bills.
Yeah.
I have 2 children. Give me money.
Well done. Rachel, where can folks find you? What have you been up to?
So you can find me on my Twitter, which is at Rachel Kaiser. So it's up there. And so just full disclosure, usually I would plug like my personal stuff as well as my professional stuff, Stay Golden Sunday, but that's going to be on ice for a little bit because tomorrow I have to fly out to San Francisco to be part of the Games Beat Summit Next conference, which is going to be a lot of fun, hopefully. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be up to for the next little while. But yeah, if you need any updates, want to see what I'm up to, yeah, just go follow me on Twitter. That's where everything goes through.
Nice. Superman Jeff, where can folks find you? What will you be up to?
Find me at Superman Jeff 12 across all social media. If you're not a part of our Discord, then you're missing out because tomorrow we'll be playing Multiverses. It'll be Monday night, Multiverses Monday. So come out, play some Multiverses. They got a little Halloween event going on where you can collect a little bit of candy. And that's going to be it for this week. Tuesday, I might pop on for a little bit of Overwatch 2. So if you want to play, come out and join in that. And that's it.
All right, thank you. As always, you guys can find me right here, SigmaGears9 on Twitch, but also Twitter, where I usually let you know if I'm going live on this channel or on the Escapist channel or the Open Party channel. Speaking of which, Super Smash Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on that channel later today. Jeff will be joining me. We'll be getting in some hardcore Smash action going for you. Should be fun. You should check the Escapist site because I just edited Darren's Black Adam review. It's actually pretty funny, and Darren goes ham. Like he did not like that. He did not like that movie at all. So watch the review, if only just to see a murder. I also have my latest review for Terror of Hemosaurus, and I should have a new one dropping soon. Oh no, actually, it might be a week or so before my next review drops because I haven't actually started the game yet. So that's fun. And outside of that, we just did Nick just did a Persona stream for 8 hours, and I was on most of that. And then we had game night where we played Phasmophobia with Yahtzee. That was actually a lot of fun. So tune into all that stuff if you're interested. And the second episode of the side quest of Adventurers Nigh just hit for members. So if you're a member of Escapist, you can watch that. But if you wait till the next Saturday, it'll come out for all folks. So keep following that story if you're into it, because it's a fun show that we do there.
It is.
But I also mentioned that I'd be restarting my Sigma and Sun streams with me and my son Starboy. This week, because of the longer stream and because my son was like hanging out with his grandma, we didn't do anything. But next week, Saturday, he should be back. We'll be back doing Sigma and Sun streams. Don't know what we're playing yet, but it should be something fun.
Grandma does come first.
But
Indeed.
Yeah, grandma gets in this weekend. But I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been another episode of the Sigma Show. And I don't know, be safe. I don't know how to end this.
Just stop it. We don't know to stop it.
We'll just go over to the end screen.
Play games.
Bye.
Bye.
Play games, yeah.
Yes, do that. Bye.